All right, guys, let's do a quick review, or should I say a quick impression of the Inmotion P6 from eRides. Let's take a look.
Okay, so I'm just having a quick ride on the Inmotion P6.
So the first thing I notice, guys, is how thick it is. It seems to be very wide. Okay, from here to there, you can see how wide it is. And one thing that's problematic with big wheels like this is that if the top part of the wheel ends up being too wide, it's going to be really hard to maneuver the way you'd like on a smaller wheel, or a thinner wheel, should I say. Now, to be fair, it does look like the top 90% appears to be tapered off, kind of like at an angle, so that it kind of curves instead of a sharp edge like a square. This looks to have some type of curve to it at the top, but for sure the top part does look a little thick and wide. That so far to me a minus, but hey, that's just me looking at a video. If you want a good comparison, you'd have to compare the wideness of this compared to the wideness of, let's say, not even the previous Inmotion, because the previous Inmotion V13 was a beautiful machine. It was actually really good to maneuver. The problem with that wheel, it was just a little bit too tall and a little bit too heavy. But this one appears a little bit shorter. The profile looks to be very, very manageable, but the width appears to be extremely wide, and that seems to be a problem. But again, we can compare it to the Sherman, the original Sherman, or even any Sherman, any Librachem wheel, because Librachem tends to have a variation of wheels, tall, small, and what I get from people who ride Librachems is that they're very manageable. We can also compare it to the Master Pro, and if it tends to be wider than the Master Pro, then you know for sure this wheel is going to be a little bit hard to maneuver. And the only positive is that if it ends up being a shorter wheel compared to the V13, then that kind of negates this wideness, and you should be able to maneuver it properly. Let's keep looking.
You can see it is quite maneuverable for its size.
Now, obviously, he's saying it's quite maneuverable for its size, but let's be honest, I don't see any maneuvering going on. I'm sorry, Mr. eRides, Afiz. That's just some, how do you say, constructive criticism here. I don't see you maneuvering it, so it's really hard for me to assess and agree with you on that assessment that you just made. But another thing is the screen appears to take up at least 80% of the wheel's top part, the flat layer, and that's freaking great. Maybe you could watch a movie on there. But this is a beautiful thing. Inmotion is really known for its quality and design of design. So that wheel screen on that wheel is really, really good in my opinion. It looks high quality, high fidelity. Who knows what else they have in store for us, but it just looks beautiful. Let's keep going.
Let me try the acceleration a little bit. Hold on. There you go. It brakes really well.
So again, he's making a few assessments, but these assessments are completely, I would say, opinionated. He is riding it, so he has more of a better opinion than I do. But as a rider, and most of you guys who are riders, you can tell that it's not really a good way to say whether or not this thing has good braking or good acceleration, when all we're seeing is him riding it less than 10-15 miles an hour. A wheel doesn't really become maneuverable until it reaches above 30-40 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. Anything less than that, it ends up being quite maneuverable because it's moving so slow. But if you end up going above 35-40 miles an hour, that's when you begin to really determine whether or not this wheel is capable of being able to maneuver in various conditions, whether that be traffic, braking, under high load, meaning you really have to brake in case of an emergency or something like that. But even in the high-speed videos we saw released by Inmotion, we saw that a lot of the riders, they end up maneuvering it quite well. But then that's at high speeds. And if you notice, a lot of these guys have their legs wide open, and some of their knees is leaning to the left, leaning to the right, but their legs are constantly wide open. Why is that? Well, in many cases, almost in all races, you'll see that the professional riders tend to open up their legs to gain that leverage they need for maximum maneuverability. But when you're riding at this speed, less than 10 miles, less than 15 miles an hour, it's really hard to make that assessment to say whether or not this thing is actually manageable or actually great in acceleration or great in braking. It doesn't really give you enough data points. It doesn't give you enough, it doesn't give you the ability to assess it riding so slow is basically what I'm saying. So let's keep watching. Oh, another thing is it does look tapered at the very edge here. So this is the top 80% or top 90% of the wheel. It looks a little bit tapered, which is good. So that might make it a little bit better. Also considering the fact that this thing is probably shorter than the V13, I really hope it's shorter or less taller than the V13. That would definitely be a plus.
I mean, in terms of the height, you see my leg, it's not very high at all. It's actually right on my...
Even better. Great. So this is exactly what I was curious about, and he just mentioned it, that the height of the wheel tends to be shorter. So if you look, Afiz is not a tall guy. He's definitely not a tall guy. He's not short, but he's not a tall guy. This is his knee right here, and this is the wheel. So we have at least, I don't know, an inch, maybe an inch and a half from the wheel to his knee, and that's fantastic. You want that. You want that in such a big wheel because you want the center of balance, what you guys call the center of gravity, to be a little bit lower. You want it as low, not too low, but you want it low as possible for that size of wheel. The Inmotion V13 was really top heavy in certain scenarios, especially when you're slowing down in traffic and you're trying to come to a stop. I remember there was a time I came to a stop in traffic, and I was trying to be nonchalant like I would on my other wheels. And what happened? The wheel almost tilted over, literally almost fell over. And it was a heavy wheel, so I had to, give it a second thought and really gain my control of the wheel again. But it just reminded me how heavy that thing is. Compare that to the Master the Begode Master Pro, and I expected the Master Pro to be heavy, but because of its thin profile, it was a little bit more forgiving.
Half muscle. So in terms of maneuverability, it's actually pretty good.
Once again, I just cannot assess that. I can't take into account what he's saying in terms of maneuverability. I'm taking it with a grain of salt because he has had experience with many other wheels. So by that, I guess I'll have to take that into consideration, that he has had a lot of experience with many other wheels, and so that's how he's making his assessment. Or maybe he wrote it before and I just didn't see the video, but in this particular video as it stands, I cannot agree with him that it's maneuverable because I don't see him doing anything that would make him come to that conclusion.
As well, the torque is something else. I mean, yes, of course, it's not going to be the most torquiest wheel I've ever tried, but...
So there you go. So he is comparing it, from my understanding, to other wheels that he's ridden. Definitely, I cannot take his... I'm only taking his word with a grain of salt in this video because I haven't seen him ride this wheel per se. But I am going based off the fact that perhaps he has had a lot of experience with other wheels of the same caliber, and that's what is leading him to make that assessment. But I can't really 100% agree with him about the torque or braking or maneuverability.
In terms of the size and this kind of class of wheel, it does a really good job.
Also, guys, I mean, just from this perspective, the top corner view, you can tell this wheel is well built. It looks like a beautiful machine. Now, compared to the V13, you still have the front handle, which is extremely helpful, and then you have the back, which is not designed as the V13. It's more like a bumper, kind of like, the Begode wheels. It looks beautiful from this angle, in my opinion. The trolley handle seems to be similar to that of Leaperkim. He has his E-Rides pedal. I think overall, it just looks like a really nice, boxy wheel.
That you don't feel it. The performance is something else. I'll let you guys watch other videos on the internet of the Inmotion P6. But yeah, I cannot do the kind of speeds that this thing is capable of doing. But saying that, it gives you the confidence that you know that if you want to do that kind of speed, that you can do that kind of speed. Hold on 1 minute. I'm gonna have to put this wheel down so we can take a closer look briefly. Okay, so just a quick look at the way it looks. Yes, of course, you know, I've put on some E-Rise pedals on there. Some E-Rise bling. But looking at it from afar, the looks does grow on you. I like.
Now, personally, it's not that the looks grow on me. I think it's a good looking wheel overall. I don't think it's a wheel that's trying to, you know, prove something. It's literally a practical wheel. I say that because Inmotion needs more batteries, right? So coming from the V13 was very low in terms of battery capacity. And so because of that, the range was just terrible. So it had great speeds. I know a lot of us complained about the speed that the Inmotion V13 was released with. But let's be honest, that was a lot of speed. 50 plus miles an hour is a lot. The issue with that wheel is that it was insanely heavy and they promoted it to do more. But in my opinion, that speed was far more than most of us would need. But the range was the problem. 3,000 or so watt hours, no good. No good at all for that massive size wheel. You can barely go anywhere with it. I mean, I took the wheel from Dorchester to like downtown through a tunnel. I did 55 miles an hour, about 50 plus miles an hour. And by the time I ended, I think it was less than 10 miles, the wheel had already drawn 30% of its power, its battery power. And that was less than 10, 15 miles. That's crazy to me. So that just means that Inmotion potentially does not have a good battery management system, or they just don't know how to manage power output in terms of wattage that's constantly being requested by the rider. So potentially this wheel might be a lot better. Let's just hope that. My hope is that, given the battery size, although I'm not sure what the battery size is yet, I think it's between 4,000 to 4,800 watt hours. Given what that could potentially mean for the rider, I just hope that they are able to manage the power output a little bit better. I know, for example, I'm not sure what that actually means, but with gotways, when you hit that, when you accelerate a gotway, the battery might show, like, let's say from 100 to like 80%. It might show 80% when you're done, but give it a little bit, the battery just goes way back up. So I'm not sure what that's about. Don't really know too much about battery technology like that. But the thing with Inmotion is, when it drops to 80% from 100%, it is 80%. That is it. You literally just used up 20% of the battery, and you're not getting it back. It's a 1-for-1 relationship, and I don't know. I think it's not that great. I don't like that about Inmotion. Whereas the Goad, it just seems like there's some type of battery management going on. You know what I mean? So it seems like the power the power output seems to be adaptive. You know what I mean? Whereas this one, it's just like a pure, you use 20% of the battery and that's it. You got only 80% left. Good luck. So let's keep watching here.
The P6 logo right there. I like the font. I even like the black accent on top. You know, it makes the Inmotion pop. This is not a tire that's gonna come with. I put this tire on personally.
I really like the rim. The orange, it's like a callback from the V13. It's not the entire rim, it's just a little trim, and I love that. Absolutely love that. The tire looks amazing. Street tire, obviously. The lights, these reflectors right here, I think they're functional. I know the back ones are extremely functional, but that's one thing I like about the Inmotion. Nothing's there just to be there. It's extremely functional. Yeah, let's keep watching.
But at least we know that the Inmotion pedals, aftermarket pedals, will fit on the P6. The light is nice. It's not too blinding. It's just the right amount of.
So it does look like it has a thin profile, and I'm really enjoying that. I don't know what about the top part that makes it look so thick, but it does have a really nice thin profile from the front angle.
You know, power. And I know a lot of people don't like this Inmotion logo over here. Sorry about this. I'm actually at a racetrack. We're at a racetrack testing the P6.
Then you know where you should be right now, Mr. Affies? On that racetrack. Get on there right now and start reviewing this wheel, man.
So this is my quick impromptu, you know, obviously it's not a review, it's just a quick look. It's a quick walk around for everybody thinking, oh, how does it look like? I'm not the biggest person, but I'm not also, I don't have really short legs. So, but for normal people legs, it's gonna be fine. You know, when I'm on the wheel comes up to my calf. Right there.
That's encouraging.
It comes up to my calf.
That's very encouraging.
And yeah, and the screen is amazing. The screen is amazing. It's nice and bright.
This is definitely the best screen I've ever seen on any machine.
Yeah. And it's also touch screen, so that's pretty cool. You know, like all Inmotion. The trolley handle, I know that you know, some people have said that they needed to improve, but I think it's okay. It's fine. You need two. Sorry about the noise. You need two fingers, to, you know, to open up the trolley handle. But you know, you will get used to it. It's quite sturdy, actually. What else? The performance is, yeah. Yeah, you know, at least on a straight line. This is a long distance performance wheel, and everybody want to compare it to a race wheel.
And I honestly think that's what it's about with this Inmotion P6. It's more of like a long range wheel. This has nothing to do with performance. Now, in fact, they're promoting it as a performance wheel, right? They're promoting it like a race wheel, etc., etc. But here's the truth, man. Whatever the market says this wheel is, that's what it is. I know like a lot of companies release wheels and say, hey, this is an off-roading wheel. This is a speed wheel. Well, guess what? Whatever the market says it is, that's what it is. And if the market, once they get a hold of this wheel, if people race this wheel, that's what it is. If people love this wheel for long distance, that's what it is. So it could potentially just be an all-around wheel. You know what I mean? Yeah, they promote it as a race wheel with all that torque, but I think that's just Inmotion demonstrating that they're able to accomplish all sorts of performance feats that Gotway and Librachem are able to accomplish, because they are indeed late to the game. I know they went and released the V13, but they're still late to the game. But overall, I think it's just a statement. In the end, I think that wheel is just going to be an all-around wheel. You could race it, you could ride a long distance with it. I think people who pretty much primarily use their wheels for commuting will love this wheel, in my opinion. But I don't see it going off-roading.
It can race, but I wouldn't say you should race with it just because of the size of it.
So that's the answer I was looking for. This wheel seems like it's a massive wheel. Even though it appears a little bit smaller than the V13, it's clear to see from his reluctance to even, you know, suggest you could race it, that it is indeed a big wheel that could overshadow any other wheel that you've probably ridden in your lifetime, minus the Master Pro, because the Master Pro is a massive wheel. And I rode that thing. I rode the Master Pro, and I was actually in love with that wheel. Yeah, but this thing, see, the Master Pro Gotway decided to remove the shell. And I understand why Gotway removed the shell, because adding a shell to all that battery is just going to add insane amount of weight. You know what I mean? At the same time, you lose quality. So if you crash the wheel, you break the wheel. Well, that's where you get fairings, right? Well, the Inmotion P6 appears to be the same thing as the Master Pro, except the shell is added onto it, which again increases rigidity, increases quality, but at the same time increases weight. So this appears to be another big heavy machine from Inmotion, and Inmotion is all about quality, right? So I can't foresee Inmotion not including some type of casing, some type of shell in this machine, which unfortunately I guess you could say it's a bittersweet situation for them, because you can't get away from that weight when you add all these plastics to it. So let's see.
You know, for a race wheel, you need it to be chockable, right? And if you want range, obviously you're going to add batteries to it. And if you add battery, you're going to add weight. It's just what it is right now.
Exactly.
But yeah, I am liking it so far. We have some races that have come all the way from US to refine this wheel and get out some additional.
Well, at this point, it doesn't really matter who you bring. US, doesn't matter. Europeans, it doesn't matter who you bring to try to refine this wheel. The only thing that's going to matter in the end is whether or not you're able to do a complete design change to try to make it a lighter wheel, so that, if you indeed try to race with it, it'll be something that's manageable for you. But right now, the way this stands, this seems to be a very fat, oversized wheel that's primarily designed for distance. But again, like, we love challenges, so I foresee people trying to race this thing no matter what. So I don't know. It just looks like a sensible wheel for me. A sensible wheel, not to race, just to, if I want to go from here to Connecticut, I could probably do it with this wheel. You know what I mean? It looks to be waterproof, water resistant, or whatever. Overall, it's just another attempt from Inmotion to try to revamp the V13. This is like V13 2, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see once it's released. Let's watch the last few seconds of this.
Performance from the wheel. Well, I said for 99.9% of all the riders out there, this is more than enough. Way more than enough. All right, I gotta go.
I gotta go too. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.